insurance premium hikes. And new backlash to Trump's efforts to rename the Kennedy Center as lawmakers say the move is illegal. And a board member says the vote was far from unanimous. We've got a number of reporters and analysts in place ready to go over all these new and developing storylines. And we begin the hour again with MS Legal Affairs reporter Fallon Gallagher with the very latest on the Epstein files. So, Fallon, the DOJ rollout of these documents, it did not go as the law has required it to go. What went wrong, and what do you think we can expect to see, and when?
The biggest thing that went wrong here is that the DOJ was supposed to release all of the Epstein files by last night at 11:59. That has not happened. They signaled that that wasn't going to happen on time. So inherently they're not following the law. Now, what we've learned today is that one of those photos, at least one of those photos, appears to be deleted. There is a photo that is no longer on DOJ's website that included a picture of a drawer with a number of framed photos. One of the photos that's in the drawer is that famous photo that we've seen a number of times of Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. That photo has mysteriously disappeared. We do not know why that photo has disappeared. We have asked the DOJ why it disappeared. We do not know yet. So that has now gone away. The big thing about this entire release, though, is that there really isn't that much new that we're learning. I would say that this is more of a compilation rather than a full release. Basically, they've taken public files that have been from court documents, FOIA requests, House oversight drops, and compiled it all in one place with a number of new files from this new law. And basically what we've learned from those is that we've gotten a better glimpse into Jeffrey Epstein's relationships and friendships. So we see that there are a number of photos of him with celebrities like Mick Jagger and Michael Jackson. There's no indication that there's any wrongdoing there, but we kind of see who he's been spending more time with. There's a number of photos with Bill Clinton. You see that he's in a hot tub with a woman who's redacted. You see him on an airplane with a woman who's redacted. And but there's no wrongdoing there. There's no indication of wrongdoing. And that is the biggest thing. I think people thought that maybe there would be some inkling that people might be doing something wrong here, and we have not seen that yet. Now, one of the reasons why we know that we haven't gotten all of the Epstein files yet is because on Thursday, Congressman Massey, the Republican who's been leading this charge, put out a video where he said that he was looking for an indication that there were 20-plus men who would be accused of wrongdoing. Now, from the files that we saw last night, we have not seen that. The other thing that I was looking for that I haven't seen is any internal conversations among the DOJ about charging decisions, maybe who they decided not to charge, maybe why. We have not seen any indication of that. We don't know when we're going to get more. We got a trickle overnight around 1 o'clock in the morning, but we haven't gotten anything yet today. So we're just sitting here waiting.
There are a lot of lawmakers who are absolutely steaming about this. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene saying this is not MAGA at all. So what are they going to do about it?
Yeah, and I mean, she's saying it's not MAGA because the whole thing here is that they want transparency. This is called the Epstein Transparency Act, and we're not getting transparency yet. So the lawmakers are weighing a number of options. Some of them are saying that they might pursue some civil litigation or seek prosecution. I want you to listen to what Ro Khanna said last night when he was asked if he would consider impeaching Pam Bondi.
Thomas Massey and I talked about it. He's working, as am I, on drafting articles of impeachment and inherent contempt. We haven't decided whether to move it forward yet, but we're in the process of doing it.
So those are active conversations that they're having. They're weighing all of their options. I'm personally a little bit surprised that they haven't proactively prepared any form of litigation in anticipation of this, since the DOJ did signal that they would not be able to make this deadline last night. But what's really interesting here is that the DOJ is the law enforcement agency in this country, and I don't necessarily see the Trump administration prosecuting itself.
Yeah, good point right there. Okay, we'll talk with you again and look forward to